Mini intro of the intro. I've got Senator Briggs. Had a little bit of problems with the connection on the Zoom call on this one, so I apologize for that. But this is the interview in its entirety. Here we go. All right, everybody. I've got Dr. Briggs, the senator from District 7, correct, sir?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you taking the time today. I know it's been a particularly busy early portion of the session this time around. We had the special session, which I'll have to commend you for being one of the few Republicans to go against the, I keep wanting to say voucher, but it's a school scholarship program, as well as you've got some stuff on abortion going on right now that's pretty big and pretty out of character for the Republicans in the state of Tennessee. And then I have a particular one, which is why I reached out to you today. I have a lot of personal interest in your Senate Bill 1413 that's moving through right now. But first, this is the first time I've gotten to talk to you, and I first need to apologize. I've been wanting to, for 1,000 reasons, reach out and talk to you prior to now. So I did do some research. I did some reading on the history of you. You're a long Army vet. You did a lot of you were an Army surgeon. Is that correct? Okay, we're having a little bit of timing on the thing right now, but that's okay. We'll work through it. So, my dad, like I was telling you before we got started, my dad was a Vietnam vet, or is a Vietnam vet. Excuse me. He's still with us. Few years older than you, but not a ton. So, you timed it out a little bit differently than he did, but that's probably because you were still in medical school, where he only got an undergraduate before he went over to Vietnam. So, all right. So I'll just get down to it. I have particular interest, as mentioned, in 1413. It's hugely impactful for my business. And I guess I wanted to kind of start with what is the motivation for you here? It seems like this has been a particular issue for you. 2 sessions ago, we had the first round of some stuff come through that the industry was kind of on board with, and we started to get settled into that. And now we're a couple years later making a pretty significant change to what we just did. So what is this? What is the backstory for you?
Well, we really have never regulated hemp very well. I did have a bill 2 years ago for the regulation of Delta 8. As you know, Delta 8 is a synthetic plant. So we did have a bill, but that could have been used as a model for this bill. But it really has to do with the regulation of the hemp products. And these are the hemp products itself, not Delta 8, because that's a synthetic product that's made through different chemical processes from CBD. But we did have in the bill 2 years ago, the Department of Agriculture had the major, I guess you would say, regulatory authority, both for compliance and for enforcement of Tennessee's laws. The problem we ran into is that the Department of Agriculture really in the past never had been one to go in and do age checks, to do age stings to see if the products were being sold to underage minors, where the product was being sold as much, being certain that the product was packaged the way that the law called for. That was just not something that they would do. And the Alcoholic Beverage Commission does that already. They have a 3-tier system with I'll call them the ABC for Alcoholic Beverage Commission, where they inspect and enforce compliance during the manufacture. It doesn't have contaminants. They also license the wholesalers, which are the ones that takes the finished alcohol product for sale, and then they collect the taxes on it and then distribute it. Literally, they're called distributors sometimes, to the retailers who sell the product. And also the Alcoholic Beverage Commission are being certain that it is displayed properly, that it is in compliance with our laws, where you can't mix it with other things. For instance, you can't have Jack and Coke in Tennessee as a pre-mixed can, and being sure that the taxes are collected properly on it, and be sure it's that we're selling it in the places where you're supposed to.
Sure, I see what you mean. For some context that I didn't give you going into this, I grew up in the bar and alcohol business. I worked for a distributor for a number of years. I worked for a number of bars, and I do own a bar currently as well. And so I personally am intimately, but that is a good base description of the 3-tier system, which I have mixed feelings on personally, but I get the idea because it gives us especially for the taxway, it gives a way for revenue to be able to check in on businesses. Not necessarily with the business's consent. So it's not a question of whether the business is telling the truth about what they're doing or not. The distributors will show that to them. My issue with that particular subset personally is my concern in the hemp industry is it's going to strongly damage the options for consumers, at least in the short run. I would think for the long run, personally, in my relationship with distributors that I've had over time, but the problem I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm wandering in and out of thought processes here. But so back it up just a second. So I see what you mean as far as what this bill is trying to do. But the question being, you've been on record plenty of times on hemp conversations and stuff like that about pretty generally opposed to it. It would be a fair statement. Is that agreeable?
Well, what it is that, as a medical doctor, I want to be honest about what we do with it. And I would be very much in favor of if there's legalization of the products in marijuana, whether it's the Delta 9, whether it's the CBD, all of those, as long as they're in compliance with the law. If the FDA came out tomorrow saying that there's medical uses, we do it. We treat it just like we do any other medication, any other drug. I'm 100% behind it. It's just that I want it to be, I want things to be done legally, and I want it to take all of the, I guess you would call it part of the cultural wars out of it, and just treat it like any other substance, like any other drug, any other medicine that we go to market. You test it, you treat it. You have prescriptions, you know what it works for, you know what it doesn't work for, and we control the whole process. Now that on the medical side, that's the medical marijuana side. And on the consumer side, I say we do it just like we do alcohol. It's an intoxicating substance. It's a substance that impairs people. We don't allow impaired people to drive vehicles. We control impairing substances such as alcohol. It can only be sold certain places. We don't want it sold to children. And even on the recreational side, I'd propose we do it as long as it's compliance with the law. I would propose that we do it very similar to the way we do alcohol, because there are a lot of similarities between the recreational.
Right. I understood. I think one of the things that's, I guess, kind of confusing about this particular bill in play is that, well, we're banning the more intoxication portion of it while linking it to the intoxication control group that is the TABC. And so, that's one of the things that I was confused about in reading through this, because we're trying to get rid of A and P while attaching it to ABC. Now, yes, there are edibles and other things, but A is the most intoxicating probably currently on the market. Agreed?
You're talking about, let's talk in complete terms just so we know what we're talking about THCA.
Yes, sir.
That's a Schedule 1 illegal substance.
Okay. All right, I'm missing that one, but that's okay.
It's a Schedule 1 illegal substance. Heroin is a Scheduled 1 illegal substance, and THCA is a Scheduled 1 illegal substance.
Okay, and so then this is just clarifying that part? Is what's a part of this? Or that's the other bill. I'm sorry, I'm mixing bills up because there's the second one that we've been talking about. Okay.
No, I'm talking about the present bill, Senate Bill 1413. It does ban THCA.
Right, because it's the clarification of terms, which is what the Department of Ag back and forth with the lawsuit was going through over the past year.
Well, see, now back then what it was over, the Department of Agriculture had that over Delta 8. And see, Delta 8 is not a natural product of hemp. Delta 8 is a synthetic product that's made by cooking CBD with various organic solvents, adding acid, adding bases, and doing a certain thing, and you end up with Delta 8. And the bill we had a couple of years ago that the that the Department of Agriculture was doing, that all came out of the Delta 8 bill. Now, also Delta 8, the Department of Agriculture were also requiring compliance along with the local law enforcement and the Department of Revenue, those three agencies, and the the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, TBI. Those were the enforcing agencies for Delta 8 and for hemp, so we didn't have illegal substances being sold. Now, what this bill just deals with, it excludes Delta 8. And what we're dealing with in this bill is it hemp, which is legal under the 2018 Farm Bill, and with the illegal substances, because once we can get into some real alphabet soup with a lot of letters and all, but marijuana is Delta 9 THC. The precursor to Delta 9 THC is THCA. And if you heat THCA, you've got Delta 9 THC, which is marijuana. I know this is a lot of organic chemistry.
No, I'm good with it. And I'm on. I've had to do some brush up on a number of my high school courses that I'd forgotten about in navigating some of these things, civics included.
Yeah.
But, so a precursor to. I'm good. I'm a little caught up on the precursor part because I'm trying to think of other things like we're here in East Tennessee. Like corn is a precursor to moonshine. We don't regulate corn in the same way we do finished moonshine.
But no, the federal government, corn is not illegal. It's illegal. It's a legal agricultural product.
But hemp is not so if it's hemp derived THCA, we're still. So is the statement here that you can't get THCA from hemp?
No, the statement is that the way you determine, now this is the way the Department of Agriculture looks at. Now the Department of Agriculture still will be testing the hemp in the field to be sure it's not marijuana.
Right.
But under the 2018 Farm Act, the 2018 Farm Act said that if the Delta 9 THC, this is the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana, if it is less than 0.3%, it's hemp. If it's greater than 0.3%, it's marijuana.
Right.
And the under the Controlled Substance Act that was passed by Congress and what's enforced by the U.S. Department of Justice and the DA, which is a federal agency, the way that this is defined is that it's the level of THC in whether it's in marijuana or the products or whatever. If the total THC is less than 0.3, it's hemp and can be sold as a commercial product. If that total is greater than 0.3%, it's marijuana. And I have a letter right here in front of me from the U.S. Department of Justice, and it makes very clear. Now, this is what Congress has decided in the Controlled Substance Act, is that the level of THC is determined by what they call the decarboxylation process, where the THCA is heated, and then they measure that, which will now, once you heat it, whatever you do to it, that's your total THC. And it says right here, thus, for the purposes of enforcing hemp definition, the delta THC level must account for any delta 9 THCA, in other words, THCA in a substance.
Okay. I'm tracking where you're doing here. I understand the I do understand all these parts and pieces. I've been down the rabbit hole. Just okay. So okay. So how does it work then? Like, I mean, I understand that we have other states that have full rec and stuff like that are in play, and that's technically federal law violations. Colorado's the simple example. They are technically violating federal law. It's just, especially nowadays, the FBI has better stuff to do than go kick the door down to some dispensary in Denver, and that's essentially what's at play there. And so, I guess the question from my end of it is, you know, coming from what you were saying earlier on the especially on the medical side of the discussion, is how do we as a state move forward with what seems to be the national trend anyway, while we wait for the federal government to catch up? Because they're like right now, they're in conversation again about moving it to Schedule 3, which will give us some medical testing parameters and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would make it totally where you could write prescriptions for it on the medical side. You could do whatever you want to. I mean, we have a lot of, there's a lot of Schedule 2 and Schedule 3 drugs. Physicians can write for all of those.
Like, because cocaine's still legal for prescriptions, right? You can get cocaine for eye surgery. Cocaine? Don't they use cocaine in eye surgery still?
You're breaking up some.
It's okay. Give it a second. We'll catch up. I was just joking about, I think I heard they still use cocaine in eye surgery. We're still kind of broke up.
And even the video is freezing some. So just it comes and goes sometimes.
You're okay. No problem.
You have to repeat it. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I was making a throwaway joke about. I believe it's cocaine is still used in eye surgeries. So anyway,
well, it's also the ENT. Cocaine's a Schedule 2. Yeah.
Yeah, and so okay. I suppose my question is moving ahead is like we've done things in the past where we've had trigger laws, not to bring up your abortion topic again, but you know, it seems to me that a bill specifically like this one is going to have to be something that we're going to have to take apart again in the future when and if the federal government changes it to 2 or 3, which, like I said, is currently in play.
We have a choice right now. I mean, we could do this. And and as I say, I'm completely, whatever the will of the legislature, all we have to do to make THC compliant, that will make legal recreational marijuana, and it solves the whole issue. Because if you say that we're not going to include THCA, you're saying we have recreational marijuana.
Sure.
And if the legislature wants to do that, I think that's willing to yield to the will of the body.
Well, I
think we have to be honest about.
I agree 100%. I would love that out of politics and legislatures at large, because my concern it is like we have like 3 bills right now that are either recreational or medical bills in play, but they're introduced by Democrats I know at least 2 of them are House members that have introduced them, and our state legislature doesn't do anything that a Democrat puts up. And so it's not.
Yeah. Well, see, then.
Repeat that. I'm sorry.
We can have. There's several Republicans. We have a Republican. I think Jeremy Faison, who is the House Republican majority leader or caucus leader, has proposed doing that. And I think Janice Boland on the Senate side, both Republicans, all they would have to do is propose a bill to make recreational marijuana legal. Well, it's not federally legal, but legal in Tennessee, right, like these other states.
Okay, so
I think that's it.
Because Becky did a medical exemption one a couple of years ago, and I don't think it got pushed through. And so I guess the question is,
hers was a little different. Hers is that if you had a card from another state,
you could carry in from another state.
To bring it in from another state, but if you had to have the medical necessity card.
Right, because it was her brother-in-law or something like that. She told me the whole story. She's been one of my favorite guests. She's my favorite rep because she's mine and she lives just up the street from me. I like Becky very much.
She's great.
She has talked you up a bunch, and I wish I would have. I would have taken her up sooner than now, because I feel like this is one that I might have been useful on beforehand instead of in post. But here we are. And so I don't know. I guess the question, the final question, I guess I have on the topic is going to be, where's the? I mean, it's still if I'm understanding your answer to my original question correctly, it's that this is literally just an attempt to get us within federal law. Just to clarify federal law and then keep what's here in a structure that makes more sense to you as far as making sure that we have good, clean product on the market. We have an agency that can do the testing and those types of things. And so it's not
we could probably do more now.
I lost you again, buddy. We're going to have to repeat that last one when you come back.
We could probably quadruple the losses. But doing it within the ABC, all those administrative costs, we've already have agents trained. We will have to hire more and train them. But we're just trying to keep the costs down to people, particularly to the retailers, who are already will be paying a license fee of $1,000, and rather than having to pay a license fee of $5,000, which I think starts to get a little extravagant. We're keeping it where the ABC already does control the fees, because if we developed a separate agencies to do compliance and enforcement, you'd have to go through that whole bureaucracy of hiring it rather than putting it on top of an agency that does exactly the same thing for alcohol, which mostly is doing stings and being sure that when the product's made, that it has in the packages what it says is in the package, being certain that it's not being sold to minors. I mean, they're doing that already, only you're going to be doing it about cannabis products rather than alcohol products.
Right. I mean, most of us, there's bad actors everywhere, and there always will be, but most of us that I've worked with, either, like my stores are all, like I'm hardcore on it, are like we were chasing kids off before it was the law to chase kids off because we have some sort of soul left in us or something like that. But so the license.
Yeah, one thing.
Go ahead.
I was on the airport here, and our sheriff's office does stings, and every month we would have 5 or 6 or 7 stores that would have to come before the beer board because they had sold to minors, and we would either fine them, and if they did it too often, they could lose their beer license. But I mean, it's not that the sting came in. Whoever was at the cash register or whatever let it slip through without checking an ID. And these weren't necessarily bad stores, but still, we want people to know that we want them to comply with the law on selling to underage people.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. As the salesman in me, I can't help myself. I hate not selling stuff, but I don't feel bad when I kick a kid out for trying to come in and buy from me. Well, we broke up again for a second. Let's let it settle. Okay, so I guess the follow up. I guess we'll kind of close on this conversation. We'll see where we go with this. Do you think that on a Tennessee resident basis that there is any opposition to some sort of recreational, or maybe the inverse of the question, do you think there is a strong contingent of Tennesseans that want to see anything remotely related to hemp and or marijuana get pushed backwards to what we did 10 years ago as opposed to how we're doing it now?
Well, 10 years ago, you couldn't do anything because even hemp was illegal. But hemp is legal now.
Correct. No,
the hemp didn't until the. But, quite frankly, I think if we don't do referendums in Tennessee, but I think if we did a referendum in Tennessee on medical marijuana, I think it would probably pass myself. Now, the legislature hasn't done that. For whatever reason, I think if you did a referendum on recreational marijuana, it would not pass, at least right now. That's
Really?
just my opinion.
All right.
Because I think we're just not, for recreational marijuana. I just don't think we're there on it yet.
Like I see where you're coming from.
Medical marijuana.
Right. I see where you're at. I think on the recreational side, I think most people are just apathetic to the concept. They don't really care. The people that like it and want to have it, they're going to say yes. People that really hate it and don't want to have it are going to say no. But most of the people in the middle are just going to be like, meh, whatever. That's my take on it.
Well, yeah, maybe or maybe not. Now, we still do not sell Jack Daniels and the whiskeys and those things in grocery stores. We don't sell whiskey and vodka, at the truck stops and the convenience stores. I mean, we're still not completely comfortable, to be honest with you, about alcohol. We restrict it. We don't want it to be sold unless we don't sell beer to people under the age of 21. And I think people still, because these are intoxicating substances that impair you, we feel it needs to be regulated just like we do alcohol. And I think the majority of people would agree you should not be out driving drunk, and you shouldn't be out driving impaired with a cannabis product. And we don't want particularly children to be having access where they can just go in and buy it. I think the majority of the population would agree with that.
I think,
but like I said earlier, I think also for.
Go ahead.
Oh no, but I said, now if we got to the medical marijuana part where that was well regulated, now we don't do referendums in Tennessee except for constitutional amendments. But I think if you did a referendum on medical cannabis, my gut, I don't know, but my gut feeling is that would probably happen.
I think I could agree with you for sure on that.
To the general public.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't know. We're going to need to do this again sometime, maybe in person. This our connection today was not awesome, but that's the way it goes sometimes. I appreciate your time today, Dr. Briggs. I will ask you to throw away the bill that you've already started because it's going to be detrimental to my business. But I understand that this is your kid at this point, and you got to see it through to the finish line. So I'm going to do what I can to talk other people against you on the particular. But this is the process. This is what we do.
Starting main committee, so it will go to finance, but because it has it'll be bringing in about $12 million additional funds to the state. We're going to share some of those with the city and county governments, so I think they'll like that. It'll also help keep property taxes down. But I think that. What needs to be, quite frankly, we need the question to be, and I think this is when you're talking to people, whether it's ordinary citizens or other legislators, is simply ask, do we want recreational marijuana in Tennessee? That's the essential question.
Right. And I would argue, I think we do, but I'm in that world, so maybe I'm a little bit biased.
Will of the legislature and the will of the people.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, friend. There's another. I'll shoot you an email on the other one that I'm opposed to for the other part of my industry and stuff like that. But it was really great to meet you and get a couple minutes to talk to you and break this down. I would love to do it again in person, or maybe do a phone call, see if we have better signal that way or something. But I appreciate your time. Any last words for my peoples?
No, it is a complicated subject to understand because there's a lot of organic chemistry. There's a lot of letters being flown around. There's states that are violating federal law, by doing what they do. It's a very complicated topic, though. I'll grant you that. And I do appreciate your civility and courtesy today. Some people are very emotional about this on both sides,
right?
But I think good civil conversation on it today, and I appreciate it.
Well, that to me, thank you so much. I appreciate you for the same. I think that's what we are missing in the general dialect, regardless of the topic. I think there's this if you disagree with me, you hate me kind of feeling that everybody has in conversation. It's like, no, you could tell me I'm an idiot, and I'll probably agree with you on that one at least. But like we've got to figure out how to talk to each other and understand where each other's coming from. If we can't get there, then we're not going to get anywhere in any sort of compromise or anything. I will say, I'll close with this. When I get emails from your office, they do random quotes at the end, and I thought this one was just accidentally perfect for our conversation. No people are really free until they become the instrument of their own liberation. Freedom is not a legacy bequeathed from one generation to the next. Each generation must take and maintain that freedom in its own hands. John Henrik Clarke is a perfect quote for our conversation today. Thank you for your time, sir. I'll be in touch. We'll do this again.
You have a good day and have a nice weekend.
All right, bye, bud. Like I said, we had some technical issues, significant technical issues with the link in the Zoom call there, but that's okay. I got to talk to him, got to learn a few things, got to see, better understand his perspective. I disagree with him, but as we were talking about right there at the end, that's what makes this thing work, because we're allowed to disagree with each other and tell each other they're wrong, but not dislike each other because of it. So we're almost agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to all your favorite podcast providers. We're on there. Like, friend, follow, share. Text us to your friends. Whatever you can do to spread the word. There's more action to fight with Dr. Briggs on, and the proper political channels moving forward for me. If you're interested in any of this kind of stuff, almostagreement at gmail.com. Or you go to my other business website, evaplungeknox.com, and there's a big old button right in the center that says advocate, and it'll get you some links through to some of the different groups and our survey and some other stuff that we're doing to try to get the word out about this bill and what it means, and some other bills that are also affecting me and my industry, as well as you as a Tennessee resident. So anyway, almost agreeing, everybody. Thanks for listening. We talk to you guys soon. Thanks, y'all.